Hello. Microsoft Excel is a widely used spreadsheet tool to store, analyze data. Today in this session, we are going to go through the Excel environment and get familiar with the common functionalities of Microsoft Excel. Let's start from the top leftmost option. The File button takes us to the Backstage view. The Backstage view allows us to open, save, print, share a workbook. If we go back to the Excel screen, the next command or the next function we see is the ribbon. The ribbon houses multiple tabs which further contain multiple commands which the Microsoft Excel has to offer. Before we get into the commands, let's look at the other features of this Excel screen. Below the ribbon, the leftmost text box is the name box. The name box tells us the address of the selection of the cell we are currently in. Currently, our cell selection is A1. That is why the name box shows A1. If we move our selection to, let's say, D4, the name box sign changes to D4. Adjacent to the name box is the formula bar. A formula bar allows us to insert contents within a cell, add, edit, or delete a formula. Whatever we type or insert in a particular cell appears in the formula bar as well. In the bottom left corner, the small arrows help us navigate through multiple sheets in a workbook. A workbook may contain from one sheet to many sheets. Sheet 1, Sheet 2, Sheet 3. And to add a new sheet, this small icon allows us to add more sheets. We can also delete a sheet by right-clicking and selecting Delete. Adjacent to the number of sheets is the horizontal scroll bar. It might so happen that the viewing area and the data you have might not be same. Your data might exceed the viewing area. So this horizontal scroll bar helps you to move from left to right in a worksheet. Similarly, the vertical scroll bar helps you to move from top to bottom and view data which is not appearing or not fitting in the entire screen. Below the horizontal scroll bar, you can see three small icons: Normal, Page Layout, and Page Break View. These are different types of view modes for viewing the same Excel sheet. A normal view will help you see Excel as it is, and all the cells will be displayed. The Page Layout view breaks the Excel sheet into pages, much like a Microsoft Word document. The Page Break view allows you to set print area and is helpful while printing a worksheet. Next to the page views is the Zoom tool. The Zoom option allows you to zoom in an Excel sheet or zoom out of the Excel worksheet. Now let's move on to the ribbon. The ribbon contains multiple tabs and multiple commands are grouped within each tab, which offer and allow the user to perform many of the common tasks that Excel contains. Let's start with the Home tab. The Home tab contains all the commands to format a cell, align cells, display or edit the cell styles, delete a row, delete a column, insert a row, insert a column, and functions like these. As we go along in the session, we will know and get to know more about all of these common tasks. The second tab is the Insert tab. The Insert tab allows us to perform tasks such as inserting a chart, inserting illustrations, text boxes, hyperlinks, symbols, pivot tables, etc. The Page Layout tab, which is the next tab, allows us to set the page attributes of an Excel worksheet, such as the print area, the background, the page size, the page orientation, and so on. The next tab is the Formula tab. The Formulas tab includes all commands and all formulas that an Excel has to offer, ranging from financial formulas to logical formulas, text formulas, date and time, and so on. The Formulas tab also contains the Names command and the Formula Auditing command. The Name Manager or the Defined Names section in the Formulas tab allows us to name particular cells or set of cells for ease of reference. Similarly, Formula Auditing bar allows us to review, edit, trace our formulas and whatever input we've done in our Excel worksheet. Calculation options. Calculation options allow us to compute and calculate the calculations or the formulas we've input in our Excel worksheet. More on this later as we go on with the session. The next tab is Data tab. A Data tab allows us to pull information from external sources. It also allows us to sort and filter data and apply various analytical and validation techniques to our Excel spreadsheets. In the Outline section of the Data tab, we can also group or ungroup data based on the nature and category of information we have. The next tab is the Review tab. The Review tab allows us to run a spell check, add a comment, delete a comment to particular cells or ranges, and change the attributes of a worksheet or a workbook in the sense that we can protect, we can apply a password, we can remove a password, we can change the attributes of what all can be changed in a worksheet, what all the users can access, can read, can edit, and so on. The last tab that the Excel 2010 offers by default is the View tab. Just like we covered earlier, it contains the various page views. We can hide or unhide the grid lines in the show section. We can also hide or unhide the formula bar. We can hide or unhide the headings, which are the row and column headings. Then we move on to the zoom options, and the window section allows us to view two spreadsheets or two workbooks simultaneously. We will look at how that's done in this. Now let's go back to the Home tab and take a simple example to demonstrate various cell functions and various functions in the ribbon which we can normally use in an Excel. Let us start with a very simple table where we have names of students and their marks in two subjects. We have three names, and let's add random marks to each of the student out of 100. Alright. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritties, it is important to understand that each cell is an intersection of columns and rows. Columns are represented by alphabetical letters and run from top to bottom. Rows, on the other hand, are represented by numbers which run from left to right. As you can see, the current cell selection is C3, which is an intersection of column C, which is this, and row 3, which is this. When we select a cell, the cell is ready to be input with certain data. The moment we start typing a number, let's say 54, the Excel allows us to input that. The moment we press enter, Excel stores 54 in that particular cell. Let's say if we wanted to delete or edit 54. There are various ways of doing it. One is we simply press backspace. By pressing backspace, it will delete the entire cell contents. What if we just wanted to delete or edit a part of that content? We press escape, we have a 54 again, and we press F2 this time. Pressing F2 takes us to the edit mode, wherein we can delete a particular set of characters or the entire cell content. So whenever the cursor is blinking, we can know that we are in the edit mode. Now if we press backspace, only the rightmost character gets deleted first. And now I want to change 54 to, let's say, 59. I have edited my cell. There are other shortcuts and other key items to be noted while working in and around Excel. Let's say I had to put a serial number list to the items that we've just created. I could do either of the following. I could manually type 1, 2, 3, or use a nifty little feature that Excel has to offer, which is autofill. Let's delete 3 and let's delete 2. We have 1. We have entered 2 now. Now imagine a situation where there weren't 3 entries but 300 entries. Would we be going about typing all of those entries manually? Obviously not. What we can do is, when we select the first 2 cells in a series, the Excel provides us a smart tool to autofill and create a list out of such initial cells of series. If you look closely, there is a small square in the bottom left of this selection. This is called a fill handle. When we click and drag this fill handle, you will see the prompt in the bottom right keeps moving from 1, 2, 3, 4 to up to 10, 12 and 13, and wherever we stop and release the fill handle, it will auto-populate the entire list. This is called the fill handle, and it can be used to create lists quickly. Now let's delete the extra items. So far we've learned how to input a cell, how to create a list out of fill handle, and how to enter the edit mode. What if I wanted to enter a particular number in multiple cells? What if I wanted to enter a particular formula in a number of cells? So let's say I input a random 55 number here, but I wanted 55 to be entered in all of the cells below. So there are multiple ways to do it. One is I go about manually typing each number, manually typing 55 each time, or better yet, I could copy paste 55 those number of times. And another way of doing it is to select all the range of cells that we want to input 55 with. Okay, enter the edit mode. Now the Excel is ready to input cells and store data. Instead of pressing enter this time, let's press Ctrl plus enter. The moment we do that, 55 gets populated in all of the cells in our selection. So, Ctrl enter can be used to input the same cell content in the selection by pressing Ctrl enter. Let's delete these numbers. Now let's move on to another commonly faced task, which is adding a new row or adding a new column in the data. Let's say I want to add another line entry before Mary. We select the cell Mary or any cell in the row 4, go to Home, Insert Sheet Rows. For columns, if you want a column before Science, we select any cell in the Science column, which is column D, Insert Columns. As you might be aware, there are shortcuts to doing the same thing. We can add a row or add a column using a shortcut. What is the shortcut? Let's see. If we want to add another row above Mary, we select any cell in the row that Mary is in, which is row 5, and the key combination is Ctrl Shift plus. When we press Ctrl Shift plus, a dialog box appears. A dialog box gives us the option to shift cells right, shift cells down, entire row, or insert an entire column. We want to insert an entire row above Mary, so we select entire row and press OK. We have another row. Similarly, we can insert another column before Science by using Ctrl Shift plus, entire column, and then OK. What if we wanted to delete these rows? Again, the row you want to delete, let's say we want to delete row 5. We have row 5. We can either place our selection in row 5 or select the entire row 5 by clicking here on the row number, go to delete and delete sheet rows. If you want to delete a column, we can select either a cell in that column or select the entire column, go to delete sheet columns. The shortcut for achieving the same output is nothing but selecting a particular cell item and Control minus. Control plus minus allows you to view the same pop-up or same dialog box which we saw earlier for insert, only that this time it will delete. If I select entire row, my entire row gets deleted, and similarly in column D, if I press Control minus and select entire column, my entire column gets deleted. Now, let's move on to the other tasks. How to hide a row or how to hide a column. How to unhide a row or a column. Let's say I want to hide row number 4. I will select row number 4, go to Home tab, Format, Hide Rows. If I want to unhide, I'll simply select the rows above and below the hidden row, go to Format, Hide, and Unhide Rows. The shortcut for hiding a row is Control 9. To unhide a row, we again select the row above and below the hidden row and press Ctrl Shift 9. The same way for a column. If I have to hide column C, I go to Format, Hide a column. Unhiding it, select column B to column D, Format, Hide and unhide the column. The shortcut for achieving the same output is select any cell in the column C, or better yet, select the entire column C and press Ctrl plus 0. To unhide a column using a shortcut, select the column before and after the hidden column, and the shortcut is Alt O C U. Moving on, let's say I want to highlight this text with marks of John in maths as bold. We learn more about cell formatting in the session as it follows, but for now, let's demonstrate the use of a very nifty function which key F4 has to offer. So if I apply the bold formatting to this particular cell, now if I want to redo or reapply bold formatting to, let's say, Mary's marks in science, I could either go back to applying V to this particular cell or just press F4. Again, Cindy's marks in maths, F4 and bold. What F4 essentially does is it repeats the last action that you have performed in Excel. It is like a redo button, only of the last action that you've performed. Let's revert these back to non-bold. Moving on, as you might remember, the data tab contained certain options regarding grouping and ungrouping of data. What does that mean? When we have a particular set of data which can be categorized into different types of categories based on their nature, based on the meaning they're trying to convey, we can always group that data. Let's say here we want to group the columns. Let's say we had a third column of total and we only wanted to see the total marks for each student. So what we would do is we would want to group maths and science together so that only when necessary we can ungroup them and view them. How to do that? Let's select column C and column D, which is maths and science. Select tab data, group and group. You will see a bracket kind of marking right above the columns and a minus sign, which means that the grouping is open. To close the grouping, we click on this sign and the columns are hidden. If someone wants to view the detailed marks and the subject-wise marks of each student, one can easily click the plus sign and we'll get to know the marks. It will be helpful if we add a total here so that the data makes more sense. And let's copy this across all students and now hide the columns. So here we have this name of the students and we have the total marks for each student. If you want to view subject-wise marks, let's click on the plus arrow and we have the subject-wise marks for each of the student. A similar exercise can be done for rows as well. depending on the data and depending on the requirement you might have. Going back to the Home tab and the data at hand, you might also remember that we talked about viewing two spreadsheets or two worksheets at once. That might be useful when comparing certain data or viewing two different columns of the same data parallelly for a given set of data. How can we achieve that? So the way to go about it is, let's say we wanted to create another view for the same sheet we are in. We go to View and say New Window. Now if you see, we will have two windows for the same sheet, and we can go a step further to view both the sheets at once, stacked side by side. To do that, we select the option in the View tab, which is Arrange All. We click on vertical because we want them to be stacked side to side, which is left and right, and we click OK. And we have the same sheet appearing twice. And we can view the same data in two windows. This might be useful if you are comparing two different workbooks, two different worksheets, and any other use depending on the nature of the requirement. Let's close one of these windows now and go back. What if we wanted to remove the grouping? We simply select both the columns to which we had applied the grouping, go to Data, and select Ungroup. Our data is ungrouped. We also looked at the calculation options in the Formula tab. The calculation options in the Formula tab are used to set and tell Excel that we would only need to calculate our entire worksheet either based on an automatic calculation, automatic except for data tables, and manual. Typically, that is useful in large Excel worksheets where there are many formulas, and each data entry or each formula input will necessitate a calculation by Excel. Excel will compute all the formulas every time a change is made to the Excel worksheet. Sometimes this slows down the operation and overall response time of an Excel worksheet. You might have to wait for a very long time before you can input or change or make a change in your existing worksheet. In such cases, it is better to select the calculation option as manual. What that does is you can keep changing, editing, adding, deleting your worksheet and amending your workbook for that matter, but Excel will not compute or run any formulas. Only when you press Calculate Now or Calculate Sheet will it run all the formulas and give you the desired output based on the formulas. So, this is the difference between an automatic calculation and a manual calculation. The option in between is something we'll get to know more about in the future sessions, but essentially automatic except data tables means that the Excel will calculate all formulas except data tables, which we'll learn more about in the future sessions. If we want to move between sheets, we can either manually select different sheets, or there is a shortcut which is control page up for the sheet before and control page down for the sheet after. Another shortcut which might be useful is to create a quick chart out of the data. Let's say we wanted to create a quick chart out of our current data. We select the entire table and press F11. The moment we press F11, a clean chart is quickly created wherein we can see the names of students color coded as blue, red and green for John, Mary and Cindy, and 3 different stack bars for maths, science and a total figure. Let's go back. To create a chart on the same sheet, the shortcut is Ctrl plus F11. Repeat from let's go back. Let's go back. If we want to save this file, we can simply press F12, which allows us to save this file wherever we want in our desktop or in our PC. We select the target folder, which in this case is desktop, edit the file name and click on save. The last but not the least of the options to know about the Excel screen is how to enable the Developer tab. The Developer tab allows you to create, edit and run macros. We will learn more about them in the future sessions, but as a precursor, we should know how to enable the Developer tab. To enable the Developer tab, we must right-click on the File option and click on Customize the ribbon. When you click on Customize the ribbon, a dialog box appears like this. And if you see in the right hand side, there's a Developer tab which is unticked. If you tick the Developer tab and press OK, you can see a new tab called the Developer tab, and it offers a multitude of commands related to macros and Visual Basic, which is essentially the coding language required to create macros. More on that later. Let's get back to our small example. So far, we've learned how to move around Excel, the shortcuts for adding rows, adding columns, deleting rows, deleting columns, hiding rows, unhiding rows, and similarly for columns. We've also learned a lot of shortcuts to move around Excel, control page up to move to the previous sheet, control page down to move to the next sheet, and other view options, how to enable the Developer tab, and so on and so forth. Now we will get into how to format cells and how to use the copy paste or the paste special function. From there, we will move on to knowing how to apply conditional formatting, sorting and filtering data, and how to protect or unprotect a worksheet or a workbook.